$2,400 more per month, guaranteed by the federal government, inflation adjusted for life, and requiring no additional work, no stock market exposure, and no financial products of any kind. And if your spouse outlives you, which statistically, in most married couples, one of them does by a wide margin, they inherit the full benefit of every correct decision you made with this claim permanently. That is the piece no retirement calculator shows you up front, and it is the reason this is not just a retirement strategy. It is a legacy decision. That is what this video is about, specifically with math. Let me start where most people start and why the starting point is almost always wrong. The conventional framing of Social Security goes like this. Somewhere between 62 and 70. You pick a number, you file a form, you start getting a check. Simple enough. And because it is framed as a simple on-off decision, most people treat it exactly like a switch. The moment they are eligible, the instinct is to flip it. You have been paying into this system for your entire career. There is a check with your name on it. The emotional pull is enormous. And everyone around you, your broker, your neighbor, that cousin who knows about money, almost universally reinforces the impulse to claim early. But Social Security is not a switch. It is a dial. There are 8 years of range on that dial, from the earliest possible filing at 62 to the final position at 70. Every tick on that dial produces a permanently different monthly income for the rest of your life and for the rest of your spouse's life after you are gone. The dial cannot be reset. You can withdraw your application within the first 12 months, one of the least known options in the entire system, repay what you received and start over. After 12 months, it is permanent. The position calcifies. In 2024, about 23% of women and 22% of men signed up for Social Security at 62. If you sign up at that age, you get a 30% smaller Social Security payment if your full retirement age is 67. Only about 4% of Americans wait until they're 70 to claim the maximum Social Security benefit, according to a recent study from the Transamerica Center for Retirement Studies. 4%. While more than 90% of people would benefit from waiting until 70, only about 10% of beneficiaries do, according to a 2022 report from the National Bureau of Economic Research. In a separate research paper by economists at the National Bureau of Economic Research specifically found that 91.6% of Americans ages 45 to 62 could maximize their lifetime income by waiting until 70. More than 9 out of 10. 4% do it. Research from 2019 found that current retirees would collectively lose $3.4 trillion in potential retirement income, an average of $111,000 per household over the course of retirement because they claimed Social Security at a suboptimal time. That is not a rounding error. $111,000 per household gone. Because of a decision made under emotional pressure with incomplete information, at a moment that felt more like a finish line than a 40-year financial commitment. In a few minutes, I am going to show you why the argument that is currently driving record numbers of people to claim even earlier the Social Security Trust Fund Solvency Panic is mathematically backwards and maybe the single most expensive mistake you can make with this decision. But first, the investment that nobody on Wall Street is pitching you. There is a guaranteed 8% annual return on an asset backed by the full faith and credit of the United States government. It has no fees, no volatility, no counterparty risk, no fund manager. It adjusts with inflation automatically every January. You already own it. For every month you delay after your full retirement age, you get an extra 2/3 of 1%, adding up to 8% for each full year. You wait until age 70. From age 67 to 70, that is 3 years of 8% compounding, producing a 24% permanent increase to your base benefit, locked in forever. Think about what that number means in the current environment. In early 2026, a 10-year Treasury bond is yielding somewhere around 4.5%. A high-yield savings account might give you 4 to 5%. The stock market returns 7 to 10% historically over long periods, but with enormous volatility and no guarantee. The 8% you get from delaying Social Security comes with zero volatility. It is not correlated to markets. It does not have a bad decade. It does not require you to read an earnings report. It grows because a law says it grows. The maximum monthly benefit in 2026 is $2,969 at age 62, $4,152 at full retirement age, and a peak of $5,181 if you delay until age 70. The math on an average middle income earner is even cleaner. A person entitled to $3,000 per month at age 67 would receive only $2,100 at 62, but $3,720 at 70. That is a difference of $1,620 every month for the rest of their life. Over 20 years of retirement, that gap is $388,800 before cost of living adjustments, which compound on top of the higher base. Now, the break-even analysis. You have probably heard it. If you claim at 62 and die before 80 or 81, you would have come out ahead. If you wait until age 70 to start taking benefits, it would take you until between age 80 and 81 to break even with the benefit amount you'd receive if you started taking them at age 62. That framing has a certain logical appeal. It is also the reason the Social Security Administration stopped providing break-even calculators in 2008. Research published in 2011 by the RAND Corporation found that the break-even analysis may have a very strong effect in prompting individuals to claim benefits early, which can permanently reduce the size of their monthly checks. The calculator was causing people to make worse decisions, so they pulled it. The break-even framing makes a hidden assumption that your goal is to maximize total dollars collected before you die. But Social Security is not just an income product. It is longevity insurance. The bigger check matters most in your 80s and 90s, when other savings are most likely spent down, when you cannot generate new income, and when you are most dependent on guaranteed sources. That is when the dial position you set at 62 is either your lifeline or your shortfall permanently. Your financial advisor will tell you to consult the Social Security office. The Social Security office will tell you to consult a financial advisor. Classic. And in the gap between those two referrals, the default decision wins, which is usually the one that costs you the most over a lifetime. Let me show you the piece that actually gets you to $2,400 per month, because the 8% guaranteed return is the second best point in this entire story. The best point is the couple coordination. Social Security has a feature called the spousal benefit. The spousal benefit can reach up to 50% of the higher earner's full retirement age benefit. The lower earning spouse can collect that spousal amount even if their own work record would produce less, provided the higher earner has filed and the lower earner is at their own full retirement age. If the lower earner files early, the spousal benefit is permanently reduced too. Here is the critical nuance that most couples miss entirely. Spousal benefits are capped at half your spouse's benefit at full retirement age. If the worker waits beyond that to claim, the spousal benefit cannot grow further. So delaying to 70 does not increase the spousal amount for the lower earner. The spousal benefit is frozen at 50% of the higher earner's full retirement age benefit, regardless of when the higher earner actually files. That seems like bad news. It is actually the key to the strategy. Here is how it works. The higher earner delays to 70, locking in the 24% delayed retirement credit on their own benefit. The lower earner claims their own record at 62, getting a reduced but immediate benefit. Then, once the higher earner files at 70, the lower earner automatically gets bumped up to the spousal benefit. Social Security compares the two and pays the higher. Let me run the exact numbers. Higher earner has a full retirement age benefit of $3,000 per month. Lower earner has their own full retirement age benefit of $1,000 per month. Both claim at 62. Higher earner gets $2,100, lower earner gets $700. Total household $2,800 per month. Optimize three-lever strategy. Higher earner delays to $73,720 per month. Lower earner claims own record at $62,700 initially, then gets automatically bumped to the spousal amount once the higher earner files, $1,500 per month. Total household, $3,720 plus $1,500 equals $5,220 per month. The gap between those two scenarios, $2,420 every month, forever. And that is before inflation adjustments, which compound on top of the higher base every January. Now, here is the piece of this that does not show up in any calculator I have ever seen. When the higher earner dies, the surviving spouse does not lose their benefit. They step up to collect the higher of the two. In the optimized scenario, the survivor inherits $3,720 per month. In the both at 6-2 scenario, they inherit $2,100. Delaying benefits, especially for the higher earner in a married couple, can not only increase their retirement check, but also raise the survivor benefit the other spouse would receive if they outlive their partner. Let me tell you about Ed and Barbara. I heard this story from a financial planner who works with Midwest retirees, and it is representative of what happens when the claiming decision gets made in isolation without ever modeling the survivor outcome. Ed is the higher earner. His full retirement age. Social Security benefit would be $3,200 per month. He retires at 62. Everyone at the retirement party says the same thing. Go enjoy it. You earned it. The planner at his bank runs the break-even table. Claims early, looks defensible. Ed files at 62, gets $2,240 per month, 70% of $3,200. Barbara, modest earnings history, also files at 62 on her own record, $640 per month. Household income from Social Security, $2,880 per month. Ed dies at 78. Barbara is 76. The survivor benefit she steps up to, $2,240. What it would have been under the delay strategy, $3,968. Barbara lives until 87, 11 years. $1,728 per month missing from her check over those 132 months. That is $228,096 gone, invisible at the retirement party, devastating when it matters. That is the dial decision versus the switch decision. One framing costs you $228,000. The other does not. By the way, hit subscribe if you find this useful. YouTube's algorithm may never surface these videos again if you do not. And I would rather spend my time building this content than optimizing thumbnails. Now, I want to address the piece where standard financial advice has its worst failure mode. Not because the advisors are bad people, because the incentive structure makes a particular kind of advice nearly impossible to get from a traditional source. Your financial advisor earns a percentage of the assets they manage. Social Security is not an asset they manage. Medicare Part B premiums are now $206.50 per month, a $21.50 hike that will be deducted directly from most enrollees' benefits. Every dollar you maximize through Social Security is a dollar you do not need to withdraw from the investment account that pays your advisor's fee. There is no incentive for them to walk you through the 6-scenario household calculation that gets you to $2,400 more per month. The system does not reward it. That is not a conspiracy. That is a structurally misaligned incentive. I spent a decade running my own business, surrounded by accountants and tax lawyers who taught me how money actually moves through a system. The lesson that stuck. When you do not understand the incentives of the person advising you, you do not fully understand the advice. Knowing these numbers and building a system around them are two very different things. I read through the Bipartisan Policy Center research, the SSA actuarial tables, the Center for Retirement Research papers, and the National Bureau of Economic Research Studies before building the Exit Code, a digital book that distills 50 years of actual retirement data into a mathematical framework that turns maybe someday into a specific date. The Social Security Bridge strategy, the exact mechanism I am about to describe, is one chapter of 8, and it connects directly to the rest of the retirement income plan. The book also covers the Social Security Bridge in detail, how much to withdraw from your 401k each year to fund the delay gap, how to sequence that with Roth conversions so you are not getting hit with an outsized tax bill in your 60s, and what I call the 58% rule, the data on forced early exits from the workforce, and the buffer you need to build against that risk. These are not theoretical. They are based on 50 years of actual retirement outcomes, not opinion. You can get it through the link in the description for less than a dinner out with your spouse. Given that optimizing your Social Security claiming can add over $2,400 per month to your household income permanently, the math on that comparison is fairly lopsided. Now, the bridge. The most common objection to the delay strategy is real. I need the income now. I cannot afford to not collect for 8 more years. For people who are genuinely cash flow constrained, claiming earlier may be the only viable option, and this video is not for them. But for anyone who has meaningful retirement savings, a 401k, an IRA, a taxable brokerage account, the bridge changes the calculation entirely. The idea behind what financial professionals call a Social Security bridge strategy is to leverage retirement savings to carry you to that later Social Security claim. Wait until 70, and you'll receive 77% more per month for the rest of your life. The math shows that holding off until age 70 to file for retirement benefits will result in a 77% larger monthly payment than if you claim at 62. Locking in higher benefits can be especially important as lifespans get longer, because unlike retirement savings, these benefits are guaranteed to last for life and are adjusted annually to keep up with inflation. Here is what the bridge looks like in practice. Say you retire at 62 with $800,000 in retirement savings. Your Social Security benefit would be $2,100 per month if you claim immediately, or $3,720 if you wait until 70. You need $5,000 per month to cover your expenses. Under the traditional approach, claim at 62, receive $2,100, pull $2,900 from the 401k. That is $34,800 per year from savings. Under the bridge, delay Social Security, pull the full $5,000 per month from the 401k during the bridge years. That is $60,000 per year from savings. Yes, more upfront. But at 70, the Social Security check starts at $3,720, and the required savings withdrawal drops to $1,280 per month. You went from draining your portfolio at $34,800 a year to draining it at $15,360. The long-run survival odds of your retirement portfolio improve significantly. Delaying also helps protect beneficiaries if they live longer than they expect. They not only start out with a higher monthly check, but that check is also regularly adjusted for inflation. Here is an additional dimension that almost never gets mentioned. During the bridge years, roughly ages 62 to 70, your taxable income is lower than it has ever been in your career. You are not collecting Social Security. You may not yet have started required minimum distributions from your IRA. Your marginal tax rate could be at its lowest point in decades. That window is the optimal moment for Roth conversions. Move money from a traditional IRA into a Roth IRA, pay taxes now at the lower rate, and get future growth and withdrawals entirely tax-free. Once Social Security starts at 70 and potentially pushes you into a higher bracket, you have already repositioned a chunk of savings into a tax-free structure. The bridge and the Roth conversion window overlap in a way that most retirement plans never acknowledge. After you start claiming Social Security at 70, your IRA withdrawals drop significantly, potentially moving you to a lower bracket. You'll be glad you did Roth conversions during the bridge years when your effective tax rate made conversions advantageous. And here is a pattern interrupt for anyone who's divorced and thinks this entire conversation does not apply to them. Many people don't realize that divorced spouses may still be eligible for the spousal benefit. You may qualify for a 50% spousal benefit on an ex-spouse's record if your ex-spouse is eligible for Social Security. They do not have to be collecting yet if divorced more than 2 years. Your ex-spouse collecting a spousal benefit does not reduce their benefit and does not impact their current spouse. Divorced after at least 10 years of marriage, and your ex has a strong earnings record, that is 50% of their full retirement age benefit. Your filing does not affect them. They never know. And it is almost never mentioned in standard retirement planning conversations. Now, here is where the psychology of this becomes genuinely interesting, and where the subplot running through this whole video comes to its conclusion. From January through July 2025, more than 2.3 million people filed for Social Security retirement benefits, up 16% from the same period in 2024. That's a reversal of of a decades-long trend of older Americans increasingly claiming Social Security later. And the reason is not demographics or economics, it is fear. The story circulating in 2025, amplified by certain politicians and a large portion of social media finance content, is that Social Security is running out of money, and if you do not claim now, you might get less later or nothing at all. The Social Security Trust Fund is projected to be depleted by around 2032, at which point, if Congress does nothing, benefits could face a reduction. Here is what is mathematically true and why the fear-based response is completely backwards. You think the problem is Social Security solvency. The problem is your claiming date. If you claim at 62 to avoid a potential benefit reduction somewhere in the mid-2030s, you have already imposed a 30% permanent reduction on your own benefit right now, today. You did not protect yourself against a potential future cut. You front-ran it with a larger one immediately. And the grandfathering logic that drives the panic, the sense that being already in the system protects you from future changes, does not hold up to any examination of how Social Security reform has historically worked. Changes apply broadly, not based on your filing date. Even people with higher incomes, who are presumably more financially secure and have the greatest ability to delay claiming, are more frequently starting Social Security at 62. That means accepting a benefit up to 30% lower than what they'd get at full retirement age. Some guy on financial TikTok in 2024 posted a 90-second video explaining the break-even math and why claiming at 62 is actually the smart play. It got 300,000 views. The National Bureau of Economic Research paper showing 91.6% of Americans should wait until 70 has been downloaded a few thousand times, mostly by economists. Nobody's making content about the actuarial tables. That is not an accident. It is just how the attention economy works, and it is doing compounded financial damage at scale. About 57% of retirees would build more wealth through their life if they waited to claim until they were 70 years old. Yet only 10% of retirees currently claim their benefits at age 70, according to the SSA. On the flip side, 35% of retirees currently claim benefits before age 64, which research found maximizes wealth for only 6.5% of retirees. So the decision that is optimal for the vast majority is being made by a small minority. And the decision that is optimal for fewer than 7 out of 100 people is being made by more than a third. This is not a math literacy problem. People understand at a rational level that waiting produces more income. The emotional pull of the immediate check overrides the math of the long game every time. That is the brain problem, not the money problem. Let me bring all of this down to a single household. Specific numbers. Call them James and Maria. James is 58, 33 years in regional logistics management. He has accumulated $385,000 in his company 401k. His projected Social Security full retirement age benefit is $2,600 per month. Maria worked part-time for about 18 years while raising their kids. Her own Social Security full retirement age benefit is $800 per month. They plan to retire together at 62 and both file for Social Security immediately. The plan felt right. It felt like freedom. That plan produces. James at 62 gets $1,820, 70% of $2,600. Maria, at 62 on her own record, gets $560, 70% of $800 total household Social Security income, $2,380 per month. To cover their expenses, they plan to withdraw about $2,000 per month from the 401k. At that rate, with modest returns, the savings would be substantially depleted by their late 70s, leaving them on Social Security, a small pension, and whatever cushion remained. Tight. Fragile. Increasingly dependent on a check they had already permanently discounted by 30%. Here is the 3-lever alternative. Lever 1. Maria files at 62 on her own record, $560 per month immediately. The household is not without Social Security income during the bridge period. Lever 2. James retires at 62 but does not file for Social Security. He pulls $2,600 per month from the 401k to replace the Social Security income he is deferring, treating it exactly as if it were the Social Security check he would have claimed. During the bridge period, the retiree withdraws an amount roughly equal to the Social Security benefit they would have received. Over 8 years, from 62 to 70, James draws approximately $249,000 from the 401k. Accounting for investment returns on the remaining balance during that period, he enters his 70s with somewhere between $140,000 and $170,000 still in the account. That account now functions as a medical and emergency buffer, not the primary income stream. Lever 3. James files at 70. His benefit, $2,600 multiplied by 1.24 equals $3,224 per month. When James files, Maria's benefit automatically gets bumped up to the spousal amount. 50% of James's full retirement age benefit of $2,600 equals $1,300 per month. That is the new floor, replacing her $560 early benefit automatically. New household Social Security. $3,224 plus $1,300 equals $4,524 per month. Compare that to the original plan. $2,380 per month. Monthly difference, $2,144 every month for as long as both of them live. And if James dies at 78 or 80, Maria steps up to his $3,224 benefit permanently, 77% larger than the $1,820 she would have inherited in the original plan. The protection compounds backward through every correct decision James made at 62. Life expectancy for someone who reaches 65 is now 84 for men and 87 for women, and many people live considerably longer. The break-even, in James and Maria's case, arrives before James turns 80. After that, every month is net positive for the household. And after James is gone, the protection runs until Maria's last day. 3 takeaways from all of this, specific to this topic only. First, run the household number before you make any claiming decision, not the individual number. Both spouses, every combination of ages, including the survivor benefit scenario. The practical implication is that claiming age matters enormously. Waiting until 70 instead of claiming at 62 can add more than $1,300 per month to a worker's monthly check, a difference that compounds over retirement that could last 20 or more years. For a couple using spousal coordination, that total household gap can exceed $2,400. Run all 6 scenarios. The SSA website has free projection tools. Use them before you file, not after. Second, if you have any savings at all, model the bridge before you commit to an early claim. Calculate how much you would need to pull from your 401k or IRA per year to replace the Social Security income you are deferring from your retirement date to age 70. Then compare that total to the permanent monthly income you lock in by waiting. The average life expectancy for a US adult who reaches age 65 is approximately 83 for men and 86 for women. If you live that long, or longer, your assets will go further if you use them to delay claiming Social Security, because the bigger Social Security payments will reduce your need to tap savings, according to a July 2025 study from the Bipartisan Policy Center. For the majority of married couples, the bridge math works in your favor anytime the higher earner lives past 80. That is a realistic outcome for most people watching this. Third, stop framing the delay as a sacrifice and start framing it as a purchase. You are buying the 8% guaranteed annual return. You are buying an inflation-protected income floor that rises every January regardless of what markets do. You are buying a survivor benefit that protects the person you love most for potentially a decade after you are gone. The $111,000 that the average household leaves on the table by claiming at the wrong time is the price of not buying those things. Frame it that way, and the decision becomes considerably clearer. Lazy investing built more fortune than crypto memes. And your Social Security dial is the one lever in your entire financial life that generates a government-guaranteed, inflation-adjusted 8% annual return paid out for the rest of your life and inherited by the person who matters most. The 96% who set it to the wrong position are not making a financial mistake. They are making a psychological one. The difference between those two categories is knowing which one you are making before you walk into the Social Security office. Set the dial, not the switch.